Presented by Nicolak Paving Stones, located here on Long Island. Over in Lindenhurst, Nicolak has the broadest collection and designs of hardscape for your home. For a free consultation and to book an appointment, call 631-669-0700. And good morning, everyone. I'm Peter Schwartz. Coming up on the show, I'm going to be joined by Jake Asman. We'll talk Jets with him. Might sprinkle in some Yankees as well. We'll see what happens with that. We'll take your phone calls at 631-451-1039. We'll play Stump the Whiz later on. We'll check out our Sports Bash Media poll question, and we'll have this day in sports history. But first, it is time for the Sports Bash Flash, and it's brought to you by the Embassy Diner in Bethpage, where every customer is considered family. The Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Mention Sports Bash and get a free dessert with your meal. And we'll begin with the Subway Series at Yankee Stadium. Mets and Yankees tied at 1 in the 6th inning.
Tonkin sets. Here's the pitch. Swinging a high fly ball. Well hit. Right center. Soto going back towards the track, towards the wall. It's gone! Jeff McNeil, a 2-run homer into the Yankees bullpen in right center field. He's had the power stroke this week, and he has just given the Mets a 3-1 lead.
That was Howie Rose on WCBS 880. Mets hold on to win 3-2. Jake Diekman picking up the save with a tremendous 9th inning. He walked Juan Soto with 1 out, that he struck out Aaron Judge, who had walked 4 times in the game. Manager Carlos Mendoza said Diekman did a great job pitching to Judge.
Huge. Obviously, we all know the type of hitter Judge is. And I thought he executed some really good pitches. And then for that strike 3, that 2 seemed pretty impressive, and then continue to make pitches throughout the whole inning.
And Diekman got Ben Rice to ground out to end the game. The Mets have now beaten the Yankees 3 straight times this season. Tonight, the season finale between the two teams. The Yankees try to avoid getting swept. They'll have their ace, Garrett Cole, on the mound tonight against Sean Manaea. First pitch at 7:05. Now, please make a note, Mets and Yankees fans, there is no local television tonight. No SNY, no Yes Network. Tonight's game is nationally televised on ESPN. Also yesterday, the Mets signing outfielder Jackie Bradley Jr. from the Long Island Ducks, and they assigned him to AAA Syracuse. Hate to pat myself on the back, but I brought it up on Monday's show. Jackie Bradley Jr., I shortchanged him a couple of games. I had mentioned on Monday's show that he had a 26-game hitting streak. It was actually 28, and I remember talking to Mitty Tickets about it on the show on Monday, and we both said, someone's got to sign him. I mean, he's a former Major League player, was a really good player, an all-star, and now he's tearing it up in the Atlantic League. Somebody had to sign him. Both the Mets and Yankees could have used him, and yesterday the Mets pick him up, and they'll start him out at AAA Syracuse, see what he looks like there, and perhaps at some point this season they will bring him up. But as far as that game last night, it was one of the most exciting Subway Series games that I can remember. It had a little bit of everything, and the drama around Jake Diekman striking out Aaron Judge in the 9th inning was just unbelievable. Nobody could see that coming. They had walked Aaron Judge 4 times earlier in the game, and you've got Juan Soto on first base with 1 out, and I'm watching the game with my family, and I'm thinking to myself, listen, if I'm Carlos Mendoza, you already walked him 4 times in the game. Even though you're pushing the tying run to second base, the last thing I want to do there, if I'm the Mets, is pitch to Aaron Judge. And I got to hand it to Carlos Mendoza and Jake Diekman. They went after him, and they strike him out. And Diekman was unbelievable. And look, he's had his share of lows during the course of the season for the Mets. And I'll talk about this later today on For Pete's Take that you can catch on social media. If Jake Diekman never gets another out for the New York Mets, he will go down in history for what he did last night, and that was striking out Aaron Judge with the game on the line. And the Mets now are 3 for 3 against the Yankees this season, and they go for the sweep tonight. The Yankees will have Garrett Cole on the hill against Sean Manaea. And really, from a Yankees perspective, they have to have this game. And I keep sounding like a broken record over and over and over again. They are lucky to only be a game and a half behind the Orioles in the AL East. This is a Yankee team that is so flawed right now. The fact of the matter is they have nobody behind Aaron Judge protecting him. It's a mess, and Brian Cashman's got to fix it. We're coming back with Sports Bash in just a couple of seconds.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
Welcome to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. Sports Bash is brought to you by the Embassy Diner in Bethpage. Mention Sports Bash, get a free dessert with your meal. By the Marty Lyons Foundation, the official charity of Sports Bash Media. Visit them at martylyonsfoundation.org. And by Collaborate Studios, a content marketing production facility. For more information, call them at 516-509-8277. Good morning, everyone. I'm Peter Schwartz. Vinny Tickets has the day off. Coming up on the show, I'll be joined by Jake Asman to talk about the Jets. We'll take your phone calls at 631-451-1039. We'll play Stump the Whiz later on in the program. We've got some Jets tickets to give away if somebody is able to stump the Whiz. We'll check out our Sports Bash Media poll question, and we'll have this day in sports history. Teams are reporting for training camp, including the Jets yesterday, and of course, there's never a shortage of drama when you're talking about the Jets. And I want to welcome into the program a really good friend of mine. He's the host of the Jake Asman Show on YouTube. If you're a Jets fan and you're not following Jake and watching that show all the time, you're missing out. He is one of the go-to people when you want to talk about the Jets. You could also hear him on ESPN New York 98.7 FM, nationally on ESPN Radio, Mad Dog Radio, and Sirius XM NFL Radio. Again, my good friend Jake Asman joins us here on Sports Bash. Jake, it's Peter. How are you, my friend?
Peter, thanks for having me. Happy football season, my friend. It's better than talking about our Yankees.
Yeah, you know, we could touch on the Yankees if we have some time at the end of the interview, but I'm all about turning the page on that and focusing on the Jets as they report to training camp. Reported yesterday, and we'll get their first practice in sometime today. From your perspective, and I know you and I share a lot of the same thoughts about the Jets, but when you think about the Jets, you know, reporting the training camp, and there's so many question marks. There's, you know, can Aaron Rodgers come back from the Achilles? Will Hassan Reddick ever show up? Can Robert Saleh coach this team to the playoffs? Did Joe Douglas put the right roster together? When you look at this team coming into training camp, what's your initial thoughts?
Look, to me, it's right now all about Hassan Reddick. Eventually, when that gets figured out at some point here, I think the attention will, of course, always be on Aaron Rodgers and how does he look? Is he staying healthy? But I think the focus this summer is all on the Jets' offensive line. If you remember a year ago, we had no idea who the five guys were going to be week one of the season. You know, the Jets have had basically their offensive line intact going into this year, though. Since March 15th, we know the five guys, who they're going to be. We know Olu Fashanu was the ultimate insurance pick in the first round. He's going to get a lot of time this summer, not just in the preseason because you figure Tyron Smith's not going to play, but you look at Tyron Smith being a veteran, giving him some rest days. Olu's going to get an opportunity to probably get a ton of reps with the starters, with Rodgers at quarterback. So how he's coming along, how some of the other players on that line are gelling together, I think that's the big story because I know what they have in Garrett Wilson. I know what they have in Breece Hall. I think if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, he's still at the bare minimum going to be an above-average quarterback. Can they keep him upright? Can this O-line protect? Last year, they couldn't protect, and they led the NFL in injuries, 13 O-line combos, and 17 games. So I just think pay close attention to the Jets' offensive line, how they're gelling, and they're going to get a test in practice every day with or without Reddick being there because this defensive line for the Jets is still really, really good.
Yeah, I love the Olu Fashanu pick, and maybe it was not the sexy pick among a lot of people, but I thought it was a great pick when you consider the situation he's going to step into here right now, getting a chance to play, perhaps behind a future, Hall of Famer on this Jets offensive line. I think it was a great move for the Jets, not just in case they have to use him this year, but in years ahead, this is a perfect situation for him to fit in with this Jets team.
I totally agree with you. And look, I guess best case scenario, he doesn't have to play, but let's call it for what it is. I mean, Tyron Smith, as great of a player as he still is, last year's second-team All-Pro, he has not played 16 games in a season since Ryan Fitzpatrick was the Jet quarterback, to put it in perspective, Jet fans. So, bringing in a guy like that who could learn from Tyron Smith, who's eventually going to be your heir apparent at that position. And also, you look at Morgan Moses, he's been incredibly durable in his career, but what if he deals with an injury himself? You're covered there. I think Olu could play right tackle if need be as well, despite the fact they've said, hey, he's a left tackle, we'll play him there. But in a pinch, I think Olu's more than athletic enough, more than good enough to be thrown into the right side as well. So I love it. It's a great insurance policy because at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers will make your current weapons better. You add someone at the trade deadline. Maybe it's Devontae, maybe it's someone different, but you can't find offensive linemen if they all start dropping like flies. So if, God forbid, something does happen to one of your bookend tackles, you at least feel like you're not totally screwed like they were last year.
All right, let's talk about the big elephant in the room, and that's Aaron Rodgers missing the 2 days of minicamp to go on a vacation to Egypt. And maybe, Jake, maybe I'm drinking the Jets Kool-Aid. I don't think I am, because I think if you really look at this and you take this and put it into perspective, Aaron Rodgers missing 2 days of minicamp to me is not like what it was. Growing up and going to see the Jets play at Hofstra every day in training camp, and they were banging each other with pads, and minicamp was a lot the same way, even up until recent years. Minicamp was a legitimate 3 days in pads of practice. Now it's 2 days. It's just like OTAs. To me, I didn't think this was a big deal that Aaron Rodgers missed these 2 days of minicamp. He had been all the OTAs in each of the 2 seasons. It didn't seem to be a problem with the Jet players and coaches. The only reason this became a big deal is because the Jets don't know how to handle a PR crisis, and they don't know how to, effectively lie to the public. They brought this situation on themselves. I don't think this was a big deal whatsoever.
Completely agree. And I think if it wasn't Aaron Rodgers and if it wasn't the Jets, no one would care. But because Rodgers, whether you like him or hate him, he's a lightning rod. And unfortunately, a lot of the reasons why people don't like him has nothing to do with football, which I think is terrible. But that's the society, that's the world we live in. And because it's the Jets and it's easy to just always, make fun of the Jets, LOL Jets, they're always going to be bad. And I get it. Look, the Jets do themselves no favors. They haven't been to the playoffs since Barack Obama's first term in office. I totally understand that. But, objectively speaking, Aaron Rodgers, I think he said it best on Part of My Take the other day. He went to 10 of their 12 OTA practices, and as you bring up, and players have said it, including Rodgers, there's no difference between the 2 minicamp day practices and the OTA practices. So by the logic of those crushing Rodgers and crushing the Jets, he would have been better off skipping the 10 OTAs and only going to the 2 mandatory practices.
Correct.
Which makes no sense. He went to 10 of the 12. He gave the Jets advance notice that he had this trip scheduled. He's Aaron Rodgers. He's 40 years old. Let's not forget, he took the largest pay cut in, at the time, professional sports history before Jalen Brunson did what he just did. He traveled back and forth throughout the country last year, flying across country to be with this team, dealing with the injury. They voted him, his own teammates, the Dennis Byrd Award winner for most inspirational. Mm-hmm. He's been a great leader. Coaches and teammates swear by the guy. And if they don't care and they back Aaron Rodgers, that's how every Jets fan should feel. At the end of the day, if the Jets don't reach their goals, Peter, you tell me if you agree, it will have zero to do with the fact that Aaron Rodgers basically 2 padless practices in mid-June.
100%. Here's the other thing, too, and a couple minutes left with Jake Asman here on Sports Bash presented by Ticketbash.com. The other thing, too, is that people will not focus on it. The media will not focus on this. It gave Tyrod Taylor 2 extra days with the first teamers. What if, God forbid, Aaron Rodgers gets hurt again and Tyrod Taylor's got to play? Now, I know Taylor's been around, so he's a veteran too, but it gave Tyrod Taylor 2 extra days with the first team.
Completely agree. And look, as much as we all want to see Aaron Rodgers go out there and play 17 games, there is a chance, he suffers more of a conventional injury, right? Obviously, if he's out for the year again, 4 plays in, just fold the franchise. We as Jet fans are just screwed. But, let's say Aaron Rodgers, he sprains his ankle or he hurts his hand on a helmet throwing a pass and he's got to miss 2 or 3 games. Well, Tyrod Taylor is more than good enough to come in and go 2-1, right? 1-1.
Right.
And I think that's why the Jets paid what they did to bring him in. And I think those 2 days of him kind of being the guy running the offense with the ones, I don't think it's a bad thing. This would have been a big deal if Rodgers had not been to anything. But the fact that he went to 10 of the 12 total practices and people are hammering the guy, it just shows you they either hate him, hate the Jets, maybe both, or it's just easy to use the Jets for your talk show and crap all over them. Like, that's really what it comes down to. Like, please, if the Jets stink, believe me, every Jets fan will be criticizing the entire organization. But this is not one of those things where I think it's even worth getting that upset about. But, people always find a way to dunk on the Jets. And until they win, they're not going to be able to change that perception.
Correct. We got less than a minute to go, Jake. I wanted to touch on this. If the Jets did anything right this offseason, they nailed their uniforms. They went back to the late 70s, early 80s legacy jerseys that they wore for a couple of games last year. They bring those back as their full-time jerseys. And now the other day, the Jets announcing that they're going to bring the Super Bowl III-inspired classic jerseys for one game, October 14th against Buffalo. We've got 30 seconds. Your thoughts on how the Jets are going to look on the field this year?
They're going to look great. It's amazing. They went from arguably the worst jersey combinations in football to now maybe one of the best. I love the legacy jerseys, the Stack Exchange era, huge success last year with the whites. I love that they have the green and they added a black to match. And then the fact that they're bringing back just for one game, I get it, but the classic jerseys that they wore, during my childhood, the Pennington years, Vinny Testaverde,
Yep.
Sanchez years with Rex, that excites me. So I think no matter the age you are of a Jet fan, you're going to be proud, at least the way they look on the field.
No question. Jake Asman, the host of the Jake Asman Show, you can on YouTube, and you can catch him everywhere, ESPN, SiriusXM. Always great to talk Jets with you, Jake, and we avoided talking about the Yankees, so it was even better.
Thank God, Peter. Appreciate you having me.
All right, good. Have a good rest of your day, Jake.
You too. Thank you.
All right, Jake Asman from the Jake Asman Show on YouTube joining us to talk Jets. Well, we're just getting started. Lots more to come here on Sports Bash. We'll have today's Sports Bash poll question. We'll have this day in sports history. And also, it is that time of the week. It is time to Stump the Whiz. It's all coming up. Peter Schwartz with you on Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. We're coming back. Stay with us on Facebook and YouTube. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sports Bash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. It's Peter Schwartz back with you on Sports Bash during our commercial break. For our YouTube and Facebook viewers, we will welcome back in our radio audience on 103.9 FM LI News Radio in just a couple of moments. Coming up on the show, we're going to play Stump the Whiz. Whiz Kid Vinny is joining me now for a little preview. You've been on a roll. What's the number now? A 6 out of 10?
6 out of 10, yeah.
So 60% now, given where you started, pretty good roll you've been on.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I'd say so. All right, so give the viewers a little insight. How do you prepare for the question? I mean, you don't know what the question is going to be. We keep that a secret. So do you keep up on more on current events, or do you go back in your encyclopedia of a brain and think, what could they possibly ask me on the show this week?
The answer is yes to both of them.
Yeah.
Ever since I was little, I would read Wikipedia, for instance, or I would just go on the sports reference pages. That's how I'd really get it.
I think one of these weeks we have to shake it up a little bit and maybe give a political, not a political, but more of a current events question to you. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm into political history.
No,
too.
I don't want to talk about politics. I want to talk about social studies, and I love social studies in college, in high school. We're coming right back right after this. It's time for the Sports Bash Media poll question as we welcome you back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. I'm Peter Schwartz. Stump the Whiz is coming up in just a couple of minutes, as will be the Sports Bash sports moment of the day, this day in sports history. That is coming up in just a moment. But first, the Sports Bash Media poll question. We post a new poll question every weekday on Sports Bash Media's X/Twitter page. First, the results of yesterday's poll question, Tuesday's poll question. What sports or entertainment personality would make a good presidential candidate? I thought it would be an interesting and fun question. The choices were Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Aaron Rodgers, Stephen A. Smith, or other. And we asked you to comment with your choice. We had a big response to this. The winner of the poll is...
If you smell what The Rock is cooking.
And could you smell what The Rock is cooking in the White House? Could you possibly smell it at some point in the future? You know, right before WrestleMania, he did a sit-down interview with Fox News, and he was asked point blank if he had any aspirations to be the president, and he didn't rule it out. He just said, not right now. But he does care deeply about the country, so maybe it's something to look at 4 years from now, certainly not at this point, but he wins the poll. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson got 59% of the votes. Right behind him, Aaron Rodgers at 26%, Stephen A. Smith at 4%, and 11% picked other. And we had a couple of votes that were written in. One was Michael Jordan, Wiz, and the other was Jesse Ventura, who was the governor of Minnesota. There was a time where I thought Jesse Ventura could be the president of the United States.
Jesse Ventura, the most well-known successful reform candidate selection, actually.
Absolutely. Now today's question: who is the bigger training camp concern for the Jets? What is the bigger training camp concern for the Jets? The Aaron Rodgers drama, the Hassan Reddick holdout, Robert Saleh's coaching, or Joe Douglas's roster construction? So if you just go on the Sports Bash Media Twitter/X page and you can vote, we'll have the results of that poll and a new question coming up on tomorrow's show. Now, quickly, it is time for This Day in Sports History, and we turn the microphone over to Whiz Kid Vinny.
Thanks, Peter. And on this day in 2019, Hungarian swimmer Christoph Milak broke Michael Phelps' record for the 200-meter butterfly at the World Aquatics Championships. Phelps had that record for over a decade, and with the Olympics coming up soon, who knows what records will be broken or at least tied this time.
Can you swim?
No.
I can't really. I mean, I can go in the pool. I can,
Yeah.
But I can't, physically, swim across a pool and back.
I can swim for some distances, but the best I could do is, glorify doggy paddle.
Yeah, that's it. Just go in, cool off in the pool if you have a chance to. Thank you very much for that. And that brings us to the most anticipated moment on the show all week long. We get inquiries from all over the world for Stump the Whiz. It has become a global phenomenon, just a social media sensation, and I'm not blowing smoke. This has become something that we look forward to every single week on this Wednesday. It is time to play Stump the Whiz. If the question we picked is able to stump the Whiz Kid Vinny, then that person who submitted that question will win 4 tickets to see the Jets take on the Commanders in the Jets preseason opener on Saturday, August 10th at MetLife Stadium. Our question comes in from Franklin Schweitzer in Levittown, who's been an avid listener of the show from day one last August. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Sebastiano, 2 minutes on the clock. Hold on, don't run out. Let me give the question, and then we'll start the clock. When the Jets acquired Aaron Rodgers from the Packers last year, the Jets did get 3 picks back from the Packers in that trade. Who were the 3 players that the Jets took with those 3 selections in the 2023 NFL Draft? We have 2 minutes on the clock. Sebastiano on the other side of the glass is at the helm, at the control. He's ready to go. And away we go. Once again, Jets, the Aaron Rodgers trade last year. The Jets, in that trade, they gave up a haul, but they wound up getting 3 picks from the Packers. And who did they use for those 3 draft picks? I will give Wiz a hint. 1 was in the first round, 1 was in the 6th round, and 1 was in the 7th round. 1 minute and 40 seconds to go.
Okay, Will McDonald, I assume.
Was the first round selection, yes.
I don't know which one, if it was 6th or 7th, but I think
Franklin Schweitzer in Levittown, hoping to see his beloved New York Jets in preseason action on
Jake Kuntz,
August
I think.
10th against Washington. What was the...
Kuntz, I think.
We'll take the last name. It's actually Zach Kuntz, but you are correct. That was the 220th pick in the 7th round, so you've got 2 down and 1 to go. 1 more selection, 1 minute to go. We're looking for the 3rd player that the Jets used with one of the 3 picks.
I think it was a corner they took with that, right? Or some sort of defensive person.
Down to 45 seconds to go.
6th round person, I think, and a defensive person. Corner. It was a corner.
30 seconds to go on the clock.
By the Jets in 2020 draft.
We are down to 20 seconds on the clock. Nick, who's shooting video for us today, has a big smile on his face as we anticipate 15 seconds to go. Sebastiano on the other side of the glass, ever the professional, with a mild smirk on his face. 5 seconds to go. 3, 2, 1. And Congratulations to Franklin Schweitzer of Levittown. You are going to see the New York Jets in their preseason opener August 10th at MetLife Stadium against the Washington Commanders because you, my friend, have stumped the whiz. The question was, in the 3 picks the Jets got in the Aaron Rodgers trade last year, who did the Jets take with those 3 picks? The correct answers that Wiz got was Will McDonald with the 15th pick in the first round and tight end Zach Kuntz with the 220th pick in the 7th round. And the one that you were not able to get, has it come to your mind since the 2 minutes were up?
No, I'm drawing.
You were right. It was a cornerback.
Oh, I was
right. It was a cornerback. It was Jarek Bernard Converse with the 204th pick in the 6th round of the NFL draft in 2023. So congratulations to Franklin Schweitzer of Levittown, going to see the Jets. Probably not a lot of starters playing in the Week 1 preseason game, but a chance to check out the action on a Saturday afternoon, August 10th at MetLife Stadium, courtesy of Ticket Bash, where you will never, ever pay a service fee. So what do you think now? You're 6 out of 11. Still a tremendous run that you've been on. I don't think you should be down on yourself. I think you've done a great job with this, but, every now and then, somebody is going to stump you.
Yeah, and even then I got 2 out of 3 for these. So
I thought, listen, I thought about it this morning. I said, maybe we should just ask him for 2 out of 3. And I said, you know what? He's been on a roll.
It's okay.
He's been on a roll. Let's make him guess all
Don't
3.
worry.
And if Franklin Schweitzer is able to stump him, then Franklin Schweitzer is the big winner, and he is. He gets to go see the Jets and the Commanders in preseason action. And while a lot of people sometimes poo-poo going to preseason games, and for the most part, I think the teams should not charge regular season prices. They should reduce the price.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where the secondary market comes into play, places like ticketbash.com and other places like that, where you can get a chance to go to these preseason games at a much better price. You do get a chance to see some guys who you're not going to see during the regular season, which is why I like going to Islanders preseason games, because I like to see the guys that are going to play for Bridgeport during the regular season. So it's always a cool thing. You just have to be able to schlep from Levittown on Long Island out to MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, and all will be well. So congratulations on a great run and a good job trying to get that question today. You came very, very close.
No problem.
That's WizKid Vinny, and that's all for this edition of Sports Bash presented by TicketBash.com. Tomorrow on a Thursday program, we'll recap the 4th and final game of the Subway Series between the Mets and the Yankees tonight. We'll have the latest on training camp. We may have a surprise guest tomorrow. I'm not really sure yet. We'll let you know about that on social media later on today. Sports Bash is sponsored by the Embassy Diner in Bethpage, the Marty Lyons Foundation, and by Collaborate Studios. For our entire crew, I'm Peter Schwartz saying thank you for watching and listening. We are back with more Sports Bash presented by TicketBash.com on Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. Everyone have a safe remainder of your Wednesday, and we'll catch you again tomorrow morning. Have a great day, everybody.